What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is Chicago-born rapper, author, chemist, and activist Psalm One. We spoke about Abbot Elementary, the Muppets, growing up as the child of a journalist, when older favorite movies don't age well, how chemistry applies to real life, the boycott rhymesayers movement, battle rap, and the creative processes behind her latest album, Bigg Perrm, and her memoir, Her Word is Bond, navigating hip-hop and relationships in a culture of misogyny. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to Real Notes. Still moving, still I just saw Terrifier 2 last night, and I'm still kind of sort of getting over that. I watched a clown feed mashed potatoes to a dead woman. It was a lot. Movie's kind of crazy. I missed it for Halloween, made it happen. I survived. I don't know. But my name's Dylan Green, CineMasai. Got a lot of names, do a lot of shit. And I'm with somebody else who also has a few names, but does like more shit than I can possibly put into. I'm gonna try, but like this woman's a rapper, an author, a chemist, a teacher, an activist, human being, wonderful human being. Her memoir, of course, her memoir, her Word is Bond, navigating hip hop and relationships in a culture of misogyny, and her latest album, Bigg Perrm, are both out now and available wherever books and music are sold or streamed, all the capitalism shit. We got Psalm One in the house today. I've been a fan for a while, so this is a real treat. And just thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Nah, absolutely. Absolutely. You just been on a tear for this last like pretty much I mean like for a long time really, but like in particular like this year with the new album and the new book, which I unfortunately haven't gotten the chance to read yet. I don't have a copy. I'm really looking to get one, but I just like knowing the journey that you've been through over the course of these last of this last like 20 years. It's just like I can't wait to really like get to dive into it over the holidays when I'm not working on 8 things at once.
No, I
Shit.
appreciate it. I mean, you do a lot, so I understand. Listening to an album is one thing. It's a commitment that is really tangible. But asking
Right.
people, they read this almost 300-page book. I'm letting everyone kind of like just let me know when they read it or when they get around to it, because it is a big undertaking.
Right. No, I got like a whole stack of books. I'm like really bad at that. I'm trying to get better.
Same.
I got like maybe like 10 that I got to get through, but yours is near the top of that list. So yeah. But we're here to talk about movies first and foremost. We're gonna get to everything, but
Okay.
first question I ask everybody who comes on here: what was the last movie or TV show you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
I mean, I'm really into Abbott Elementary, so
Oh,
every week,
beautiful.
every week, I have a strong opinion about it, even if it's just this is so well done.
What was it? Because like I'm realizing now we never talked about Abbott Elementary on here. I love Abbott Elementary too. I just got my sister into it like maybe about a month ago. So like
Okay.
we've kind of been running through the whole show and like I've been like reliving it through their eyes. It's really tight. What was it about Abbott Elementary that really kind of like grabbed you when you first started watching?
I don't remember seeing a public school comedy um that comes at it from like that angle. And I love Quinta.
Yeah.
And it's nice to, as someone who kind of studies pop culture as we consume it, it's just nice to see that sort of that leap from social media and like these apps to like a big network television show. So I really just started watching it to support, but then I was like, wait, this is really good. So I'm on board.
Right. Yeah, nah, like I've been a fan of Quinta since the BuzzFeed days, like back when BuzzFeed was like actually good.
Yeah,
And
right.
like and like it's just like to see like I always knew she had this kind of thing in her. Like
Sure.
there were um I'd watched a couple episodes of a Black Lady sketch show, which I wished I enjoyed more, but she's always good
Same,
on it.
same,
You
same.
know, like I feel terrible saying that, but like I watched a couple episodes and I was like, yeah, this might not be for me.
This is a
And
safe space, and I feel the same way you do. Like I watch it to support, and I know that I might get a good chuckle out of something, but by
mhm.
and large, I watch it and it won't be that funny to me. So
Yeah, they try, and I appreciate it. I love the guests and stuff, but like I just Robin. Shout out to Robin Thede. She's great.
yeah,
She'll
she's super funny.
yeah, she's super funny. Just not always on a Black Lady sketch show.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
Oh
it
man.
happens. It happens.
Yeah, But Abbott Elementary has been like it's been a real treat to watch Abbott Elementary. Just like to to hear them say that it did better than Modern Family, like in that within that same time frame, was just like wow, like they're really about to like take this motherfucker over. Like it really made me so happy because like I knew she had it in her to like really flesh something really nice and beautiful out of this. And like as somebody who's like a product of the public school system, like
Right.
I understand not everything, but like a lot of things that go on in those buildings, and just like
Yep.
just like the shit that teachers have to go through to be able to like teach their kids, like like buying supplies with their own
Yeah.
money, and just like
Yeah.
having to fight with the school for everything. It's just like that shit is so important, and they put it, and like it's never like depressing. It's just like they managed to make it feel real and weighty, but it's not like it's still funny and it's still cute,
Yeah.
and there's still
Yeah.
like romance, and people's food gets stolen out the fridge, like it's still like it's been such a long time since I've watched a sitcom that didn't feel like this doesn't feel like like the kind of like live in front of a studio audience type shit. I feel like that's kind of out, and this has a lot more energy to it than that, and it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, absolutely. And as someone, like, to touch on like being a teacher, I've done my, I ran an after school program for like around 3 years. So,
Hmm.
and when we first started, we didn't have any funding from the public school system. Like Chicago Public Schools didn't start giving us funding for the program till after it was running for like a year and a half. So for a year and a half, and around that time, everything that we got was coming out of my pockets, and we did it because we saw a need. And I know personally that music programs need to be in schools. So we were in schools a
Yeah.
lot, and you do have to fight. You have to fight not only sometimes the teachers, you have to, and it's not like really fighting, but you're really just advocating for what the kids need, and advocating for what kids need should not be that hard. But it's
Right.
nice to see the Abbott Elementary touch on that, but also keep it humorous. It's like that balance of, the weightiness of, the public school system all over the country.
Right, absolutely. It's just like, like it's like Barbara said in the pilot, just about how like teachers are like, like teachers are like friends, therapists, like second parents, and sometimes even first parents. Like that shit
Yes.
was like she said that, but I didn't walk out feeling like, oh, like I felt like it was like, I don't know. They just find a really nice balance. And um but tell me more about your after school program. Like what was it and what did you do? And like how did it work? I don't know where my brain just went. How did it work?
Yeah, and long story short, I was living in San Francisco for a while, and I
Yeah.
took a job at because in San Francisco you need like 8 jobs or need a huge bag to even like have basic needs. So one of my like 5 jobs was having an after school program with a company called America, with an organization called America Scores. And what they do is they combine soccer and poetry writing. It's a weird team building mesh that it's a really beautiful program because the kids actually have to do both. So in order to participate in the soccer or the poetry slams, they have to participate in both. And it really like forces them into thinking outside the box, team building. Well, I was an after school instructor for the poetry program, but they were understaffed. So I became a soccer teacher too. And I was able to finagle getting them some help, getting a kid college credit from San Francisco State University who is doing a sports medicine, who was on
Wow.
sports medicine scholarship to come help me with the kids. And they liked that so much that they kind of started paying more attention to what I was doing. And one of the instructors actually knew me as Psalm 1 and was like, we have a musicians program. So I ended up doing a musicians program with ASCAP, the publishing company. And they do like a residency where artists that are, under ASCAP can do these 3-day workshops with kids. So fast forward a little bit, I was doing these 3-day workshops with kids, ended up doing a whole tour of it, did an album called Child Support, which is out there. And it's a children's album, a children's rap album, basically. That got me recognized back in Chicago with an organization called Intonation Music. And they do basically band building with kids after school in the Chicago public schools, but mainly in underserved areas where they be the last kids to get like a music program. So they had me come in and start a hip hop leg because they had rock and pop, but no hip hop. And because it's one of those things like, are you going to go to underserved areas and there's no hip hop? Like,
right. Like, come on now.
Right. So that was what I did. And for 3 years, we cultivated that program in Chicago, all over the South Side and West Side. So it's one of the things I'm most proud of as a rapper, being able to like bring a program like that to areas that I grew up that never had programs like that.
Right. Oh, that's so important. Like, like not even just like helping kids in underserved areas, but just like in your underserved areas.
Right.
Like just be,
right.
Like I can only imagine how good that must have felt. And also I think you might be one of only a handful of rappers who has a children's album. Like across the spectrum. I can't like I'm sure there's a couple others, but like none come to my head right now.
If I Soldier Boy it right now, someone will absolutely be like, no, I'm the first. And it'll just be like documented, and I'll get slandered. So let's just say I'm one of them.
Son from Yo Gabba Gabba is gonna come and talk your ear off about that shit. I forgot about that. Wasn't Biz Markie on Yo Gabba Gabba at one point?
Yeah.
Rest in peace to Biz.
Man, it's so much. Somebody was saying that the other day. Like I forgot where I was watching it on the internet, but they're like, it's crazy because like we're at an age in hip hop where you talk about rappers, and a lot of times you have to say rest in peace. You'd be like, God damn, like losing them.
Yeah, man. I'm still reeling from Takeoff. Honestly, like it's been a rough week and a half. Like it's like I think about this a lot. Just like you just become. I mean, just like as Black people in general, like we're very, very familiar with mourning on like on like micro and macro scales. But like as rap fans in particular, like it just feels like it's like every other day or every other week at this point, like just like
if you count the unknown rappers and the really indie underground, it's probably just the statistics are probably way more, it does suck. And Takeoff's passing, rest in peace, was definitely, it shifted something in me, and it kind of like coincided with like this decline of Twitter. And, I kind of like walked away from Twitter for a few days because it gets so cloudy and disgusting every time someone like dies now. Everyone wants like footage of it or some sort of weird connection, and they make it about themselves. It was just odd, an odd feeling. And it's really weird because it's like, what if I wanted to be a successful street rapper? Is this what I have to, aspire to, So I don't know. It's messed up out here. I wish us as a people could stop, doing this, because we talk about state violence and all this stuff all the time. But that what conversation is always, clashing with that. We hurt ourselves quite a bit. We need to stop that shit.
it's really about finding a balance between acknowledging the fact that like a lot of this music, like especially shit that comes from the street, is very much like it's product of your environment type shit, you know, like this is like people are talking about this because they live, or not every, like obviously not everyone's lived it,
Sure,
but
sure,
like,
sure.
you know, but you know, like people like live this, and like this is what, you know, like this is how people get out. But at the same time, it's just like it's just about finding a balance between that and being like, all right, so like where to, like like how do we, how can we rectify this? Like these are all like big questions I don't have the answer to, and I'm
Right,
not
of
going to say
course.
that I do, but it's just like, you know, it's just like it's like rap is complicated and we love it, and I want people to be able to express themselves how they feel like they need to express themselves without dying over a dice game, you know, like it's just, this shit sucks. It really hurts.
Dying over a plate of chicken and waffles, you know?
Right. Dying over cookies. Dolph got shot while he was leaving a fucking cookie store, son.
That
Like I
hurt.
can't I
Yeah,
can't he
that
was buying
hurt.
cookies for like his grandma or some shit. Like what do you say to that? You know? Like
Yeah,
ugh.
man.
But anyway, what's your favorite season of Abbott Elementary? Do you like the second one or the first one more?
Like to less heavy passion. I'm really liking what I'm seeing this season. Uh, I love a good are they gonna kiss? Are they gonna, hang
Yeah.
out? I love that. The tension, the little cute tension there. So I'm really messing with the second season because I is it over? It's not over yet, is it?
Nah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to say it's better because it's just good. It's
Right.
just, that I think the actors had really good chemistry first season and you're seeing it more second season. So yeah, I'm gonna say second season.
Right. Yeah, no, it's like I love the way you put it. Like it's just good, you know? Like I just
Yeah.
like there was nothing really wrong with the first one, and this is just kind of like more of the same, and they're just like building more. You get to see more of the characters' lives, and just like I yeah, I'm just and on top of that, I think we're getting double the amount of episodes this season. I think they got like 13 last season, and we're getting like maybe somewhere between like 24 and 28 new episodes. Like
I'd
they got
love to
them
think
working.
that they renegotiated with ABC or, that Emmy brings that price up, Fat Joe
Oh,
voice.
yeah, nah, absolutely. Like, no, no, no. I know Quinta was ready. Like, nah, like we need this, and this. Like,
Like,
you know, like, and she, and you know, like before we move on, like seeing her really like seeing her take up for the public school system like across the country, like with you know, like her she named Abbott Elementary after her favorite third grade teacher, I
yeah.
think. And like and you know, like whenever she gets like big sponsorship deals or whatever, she does like a lot of stuff for schools, like in school
Right.
activities, and you know,
Yes.
like she's like, you know, like
Yes.
she's like really putting her money where her mouth is with the show.
Yes.
So like it's not just a great show that like puts a spotlight on something that's really important to so many people. She's like actively like working with schools, you know, like
Yeah.
you can't put a price on that shit, like until you can, you know.
Yeah, and you know what? That's really dope because you're not really exploiting stuff just because you're making art about it. But when you actually give money back to the cause, it's like it makes it even more, like, oh, wow, this is insane. And before we move on from Abbott Elementary, because we could continue to talk about this, but shout out
Right.
to Maker, my homie Maker, who is a crazy producer. He's been in the Chicago scene for decades. He did the theme song to Abbott Elementary.
Oh, okay. Because I love it, and I've been wondering, like I Shazammed it a couple of times and I wasn't able to find it. So I'm like, who is Maker? You know,
Yeah,
like
you familiar with like Quellen Maker from back in the day? That
damn, yeah.
Maker, that
Oh
Maker.
shit.
It's nuts,
Damn.
right?
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, that's beautiful. I didn't. Yeah. Yeah. I also had no idea he was from Chicago. That's dope.
He's from like Aurora, but Chicago claims him. It ain't no thing, you know what I mean?
Aurora, Colorado, or is there an
Aurora,
Aurora, Illinois?
Illinois.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep, it's like a western suburb. It's not that far, and it's where Wayne's World was. That's what Aurora has. So yeah.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's really like a hop, skip, and a jump from Chicago. So we claim them. It's not, it's not like we don't claim Maker, but
Right. Yeah.
he's
No. You know. Yeah, no, I totally get it. It's you know, like it's like the difference between like somebody being from, like, I'm in Jersey. It's like somebody being from Newark versus
yes,
like like versus being from like I live in a place called Clifton. Like I'm near Newark, I'm near
Mhm.
Patterson, but I'm not like from Patterson. I don't live in Patterson or live in Newark. I live in Clifton. So I
Right,
get it. Like
for sure.
um so for you, what's the first movie experience you can remember having? Like it could be at the theater, it could be at your cousin's house, wherever. Like the first one that comes to your mind.
I forget what Muppets, but I went to go see the Muppets as like a 5 or 6 year old with my aunt,
Hmm.
and I didn't want to miss anything, so I peed my pants just in the theater. And my aunt at the end of it, she complimented me. She was like, "You're such a big girl. You didn't have to use a bathroom or anything." I was like, "Oh yeah, I use the bathroom."
Drip, drip, drip.
And she was just like, What the hell?" I was just like, "Hey, I didn't want to miss movie. It was way too good. Kermit was in his bag." And so
Man, I love.
that was one of the first movie experiences because I got in big trouble for that. It
Man,
was
I
worth
mean,
it though.
yeah, I mean, the Muppets are great. Like,
Yeah, the Muppets are worth it.
I probably would have done the same thing, honestly. Like, especially if it was, I'm trying to think of what my favorite Muppet movie is. I love, I want to say the first one and Muppets Take Manhattan are probably my two favorites if I had to pick. So, I don't know
Yeah,
which one of them
Muppets
I pee
Take
my pants
Manhattan is
over, but
that's classics.
yeah, for real. Like, and whichever one had Rainbow Connection in it, because it's Rainbow
Yes.
Connection.
It is. This was the just so we can be accurate. The movie, yeah, it was Muppets Take Manhattan, and I was 4, so it's a little bit even better. I was 4 year old peeing in the theater
Man.
seat. So
Yeah, like it's that's so crazy. I just like, yeah, because I remember like the first new Muppet movie I got to see in the theater was the one they put out in 2011 with
yeah,
Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords. And
yeah,
like I
yeah.
was, like I grew up off the Muppets, so like I just loved I was in college at the time and I was like, I want to go see a Muppet movie in the theater, and it was great. Like I was like bawling while they were singing the songs, and just like it like there's something so magic about just like the whole Muppet thing, like just like the whole
Yeah.
aesthetic and just
Jim
like
Henson did that, man. Rest in peace, Jim Henson. But
yeah,
he's a
man.
great mind, and the people that he brought in to basically revolutionize animatronics and special effects. I mean, creating these worlds, like this world building, and it's just vast and it's great and it's timeless. I mean, it's legendary, man.
Like I was there's this really great 5-part YouTube series about Jim Henson's life and career on this channel called Defunct Land that I love. And like they covered everything from his time, and like he worked in a public access TV in DC, and like they talked about like how like he had created a handful of characters, and then that eventually led to the Muppets, and how like he met like Frank Oz and his wife, and how they all kind of like helped
Yeah.
to build out the Jim Henson studio, and of course the Muppets, and then Fraggle Rock and Muppet Babies and the Dark Crystal and all the movies. And it's just like this
Insane.
really like I highly recommend it if anybody's a fan of the Muppets. Like go it's like a whole they did a whole thing on Jim Henson. It's really like the whole last episode is about his funeral, and like they had
Mhm.
like I didn't like they had Big Bird's actor come in costume, and he sang "It Ain't Easy Being Green" in like a green bow tie, and they have the video. And then that shit wrecked me.
No, right? I
It
can right
was
now.
yeah, man. I don't know. Like the Muppets were just like really special. Like it was one of the first times I like recognized something kind of being meta, and like acknowledging that like they acknowledge that they're puppets, and they acknowledge that they're on a show, and everything's lampshaded and everything's kind of goofy, and like that was my first exposure to that kind of humor as a kid, and like it
Yeah.
really stuck with me because like I'm still like that now. So like yeah, the Muppets mean a lot to me.
Same. I was just watching. I feel like last week I had my aunt over and we were just kicking it. We were just watching TV. She wanted to watch The Masked Singer, which is kind of crazy meta if you really think about it.
It is, yeah.
But they had Miss Piggy and Kermit as judges and like a co-host with Nick Cannon. Seeing Kermit with Nick Cannon, that's a whole other conversation. But
Right.
but it worked, and it was like they were singing, and like Miss Piggy had her diva jokes, and like nothing felt forced or old school or awkward. I was just like, man, Miss Piggy hasn't aged a day. You know what I mean? Like these jokes still hitting. It's iconic.
Man, good for them. I stopped watching The Masked Singer around the time they had Rudy Giuliani on, and I've been meaning to come back.
Yeah,
He
that's
took his
wild.
head off, and I think Ken Jeong like walked off the set when that happened. Like it was a moment. But I remember when T-Pain won The Masked Singer, and like he had just put out that One Up album, which people slept on that T-Pain album. That One Up album is so good.
I
T-Pain's a
blame
legend.
Jay-Z for that.
Hey, yeah, no,
Dang you, Hove.
we could all blame Jay-Z for that. He blamed Jay-Z for that up until that Netflix documentary. So like,
Yeah.
but like T-Pain's a whole other conversation. Shout out to T-Pain. I love him. But yeah, like
Yeah.
The Masked Singer is just like it's one of those things you can just like pop into and just like watch. It's like, it's Busta Rhymes. Like, it's like I think who else? They had like a bunch of just a lot of people. I can't remember who else is like
Yeah.
on the show, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch it. I've seen episodes, but my aunt was like, let's watch it. And then I was like, oh, Miss Piggy and Kermit? Oh man, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's cute.
And Jerry Springer was, no spoilers. Sorry guys, if anyone's
Right.
watching this. But Jerry Springer was the Masked Singer. It was very odd. I was like, what is going on?
Right. I saw that on Twitter and I was like, that's hilarious. What a
And then they all when he took his mask off, everybody was like going, Jerry. I was like, what?
Of course.
My brain was literally like exploding into like a million pieces. Like, it's just my pop culture brain was just like, I was like, what is this lady got me watching right now? It's Miss Piggy and Jerry Springer and Nicole Scherzinger from like,
right.
There's a lot going on. Nick Cannon of all people. It's just like, come on. It's a lot.
Right. Yeah, no, it's just like you got to give your brain a break. Yeah, just like I spent so many sick days as a kid watching Jerry Springer on TV when I had nothing else to do, and like Jerry Springer and Maury and all that shit.
The greats. That's great television.
Hey man. So like as you got a little older, like moving on from peeing your pants at the Muppets,
Yes, of
like
course.
was there a movie that kind of made you like fall in love with just like movies in and of themselves? Like it could be in like an artful way, it could be in just like just something that made you like recognize movies as something more than just entertainment.
I mean, I was big into Never Ending Story. That was like a whole thing in my life. E.T. was a big thing. I was really into like once I got really involved in like a story, I would really get like into it. I just run off a list of movies that I know kind of changed me as a kid and like a young adult. And I just ran those movies up, Forrest Gump, 3 O'clock High, Just One of the Guys, Spaceballs, which my friend of mine, I'm actually with them right now. They have Spaceballs on VHS. And I was like, we should run that. But I'm like, we should probably play a drinking game about like the jokes that wouldn't be good now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some of these movies, be like, oh, I love that as a kid. You put it in, you be like, yo, this is problematic as fuck.
Yo, that's so crazy you mentioned that because I saw a TikTok maybe yesterday where like somebody was they were making like one of those like, oh, here's this older movie you might not have seen, and it was Be Kind Rewind. The Jack Black and Mos Def movie, and you make it to the very end, and like you think they're being serious, or I mean, like they are being serious, but they remember and they show you that there's a scene with Jack Black and blackface doing because like like the whole for anybody who hasn't seen Be Kind Rewind, it's like he comes into the store magnetized and wipes all the VHSs, and they recreate the movies, and the community loves it, and people are like asking for their versions. And I don't remember what movie it was, but there's a bit where Jack Black is in blackface recreating some movie, and it's just like, oh nope, never mind, don't forget that.
like Jack Black,
Yeah, not Jack. Oh, I didn't even think about Jack Blackface. Damn. Like, but
Hey,
like,
that's a Halloween next year. Keep that in mind.
yeah, nah. He was just in that Weird Al movie that just came out that I wish I liked more. But he's great in it. He's funny enough, Wolfman Jack, the radio person on the radio guy. But I say all that to say I get it. Just like watching stuff you loved as a kid and then just being like, oh yeah, like that's kind of sexist. That's racist. That's fucked up. Like
Yeah.
it's like I be doing that a lot.
A lot of transphobia, like the jokes, the low
Uh-huh.
hanging jokes, like with trans people. It's just like we didn't even have to
Yeah.
go here. Like, what is this? Like, y'all was running out of jokes or something. But
Yeah,
I
man.
remember my bisexuality brain was really bubbling when I was really into Bram Stoker's Dracula,
Uh-huh.
which is like, it's a joke how good that movie is and how bad Keanu's performance was in that movie. Everybody was acting their ass off, like
Right.
Anthony Hopkins, Winona Ryder, everybody, Gary Oldman, like
Uh-huh.
giving you iconic performances, and Keanu's stiff ass just like, don't bite me. It's great. I love that movie. But that was one of the movies where I was like, am I watching this because I feel like everyone is hot in this movie? Like, what is going on with me? Like, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of boob in that movie, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Like a
Yeah,
lot.
no, there's a lot of everything in that movie. And it's like it's funny because you're not the only person I know who had that experience with Bram Stoker's
Yeah.
Dracula. Like, and I haven't seen it in years, and it's weird because like I don't really like I don't remember Keanu being terrible in that because he's
Oh,
not he's great in most everything he does. So it's weird to hear that he's just like not good in this.
and he's not like the best actor. He just chooses good roles for him. I think he's been
Yeah.
very blessed to choose roles that he can fulfill. But I feel like he's a stiff dude as far as his performances.
Yeah.
Even if you look at like The Matrix, like Neo, he's like stiff and serious, like, and
Yeah.
Keanu can fulfill that,
Especially in the new movie. Yeah. And just like, and it's like everyone's hot in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like it's just like like you don't even got to be bisexual to just like acknowledge like, yeah, like these are some good looking people in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
yo.
And if you're weird and if you're a weird kid that's flirting with the bisexuality, it's everything. You're just like, yo,
Uh-huh.
this movie is magic. It's just
Yeah,
like,
no, that shit is real. That shit is very, very, very real. What was I gonna say? But yeah, were there any other movies in particular that you because I didn't mean to cut you off if you were
oh
going through
yeah,
your
no,
list.
we're just vibing. I mean, my mom is really into movies. Shout out Elaine. She still actually to this day does freelance film reviews. So grew up in a
Oh,
house where like my mom was always like going to the movies, loved going to the theater, but like we did a lot of Black movies.
right.
Coolie High was big, like
Mm-hmm.
huge in my house. But then in the 90s when I was like becoming like a younger adult, I mean, I remember House Party 2. I actually talk about House Party 2 in my book because it was like so impactful to me. What else? Malcolm X, the Denzel performance was big because
Right.
just the historic, the period pieces, but for Black people was big
Uh-huh.
because it was like, oh, we didn't see this era so much,
Right.
so yeah, that, and then of course like Boys in the Hood was big. Menace to Society
Yeah,
was like
Menace, yeah.
everything, still be like, I got some double cheeseburgers, you know what I'm saying? Still will quote
Double
a
burger
lot.
with cheese. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, all that.
Yeah, I feel you. Especially when it comes to like the Black film shit, because like my dad is really big into that. Like he was born in 1945, so
Mhm.
he's pushing 80 at this point. So he would like go out of his way when we were growing up to like find a whole bunch of older Black film on DVD, like Stormy Weather and Carmen
Yeah,
Jones and just like
yeah,
all that shit. So like he was like drilling that shit into our heads from a very young age. And
of course.
like then and then of course he had he had he had pretty much every Spike Lee movie from, I want to say, School Days until Bamboozled, but like he never opened them. He just bought the
Mm,
DVDs and never opened them. So
okay,
like so like I just found all of those on my own and just like so like I ran through Do the Right Thing and Jungle Fever and School Days, and like I watched every Spike movie I could,
of
because like
course.
that run was incredible, you know. Like
Mhm.
Spike's made some garbage over the course of the
Yeah,
last
he's made
15
some
years,
stinkers, but yeah, he's
but
got enough iconic, just completely legendary movies under his belt. So
yeah, man. So just, like I get that, like, and then like I get how important like kind of like fostering that in like young Black children is, because like he went out of his way to do that for us, and I'm so grateful for that, especially as someone who's a huge movie person, and like
yeah,
I had no idea your mother like wrote did film reviews. That's so tight.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Like how long has she been doing that? Has that been a
She's been
thing
doing
like
it
forever?
forever. She's been doing it forever. Like, not as long as she's been a journalist, but she's been doing it for at least the past like 10 years,
Oh
you know,
wow.
at least. And I'm being like probably a little bit like too modest on it. She's probably been doing it more like 15 years.
God damn, wow. Like that's like as someone who used to be a full-time film critic and film journalist, like that's like I'm always interested in like where people start with that, because it's such a it's just like culture writing in general, like as you know, because
Yeah.
I read your Smino review, by the way. It was really, really good.
Oh,
Um
thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
gonna
I
link it.
appreciate that.
I'm gonna link it at the bottom because it's very short and very good.
Yeah.
But nah, like just like culture writing is such a like just like every aspect of like whether it's about music or movies or politics or all that stuff. It's just like your mind just kind of wanders sometimes, and like it's like there are a lot of people who stick to one thing over the course of their entire career, but I know so many people who've like gone from music to film, or like gone from music to politics, or politics to music, or
Yeah.
like they incorporate it all into everything they do. It's just like it's
Politics to music
really,
is crazy.
yeah, right, like
Music to politics, I see it like more and more, but because I
yeah.
that actually doesn't seem so far-fetched, but politics to
Mhm.
music is crazy.
Hey
No
man,
offense to anyone who's done that. Like, I'm not saying crazy like in a bad way.
yeah. It's just different,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
it's just like a different kind of writing. You got to have a different kind of eye, it's a whole thing. But I just had no idea your mother was a journalist, let alone a film journalist. So that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, yeah, she is. So I've always been around, around because I'm an only child. My mom grew up, my mom's a single mom, so it was us very much,
Right.
together forever, so
Yeah.
lot of great movies, just a lot of great movies I got to, see coming. And like even like art house films, like I mean, it got bigger over the years, but like Baghdad Cafe, I remember my mom making me go see certain films and like
Yeah.
indie, at indie theaters and stuff like that, because it was just important for her to let me see like mainstream stuff, but also like here's independent stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important. And like I know there's quite a few indie theaters out there in Chicago, and there's a couple out here near me as well. And just like,
Mhm.
just like having access to that stuff is like it's a little easier now, because like streaming makes everything much more accessible. But like
Sure.
but like back in the days, like before Netflix and stuff like that, like if you didn't have like an indie theater, like most places don't have indie movie theaters.
It's true.
And like you would, like you might get lucky if you go to like an AMC, and they might have like one or two of like the big indie movies.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
that's how, like unless you had access to like a major metropolitan city, or you had an indie theater in your backyard, like you weren't really seeing that shit. Like you would watch the Oscars and be like, you'd be like, what's Little Miss Sunshine? Like I never heard of
Yeah.
that, like, and
Yeah.
and that's just, it just is what it is. So like, just like having access to that shit is something that I really kind of treasure now. Like like I feel like I might have even taken it for granted, because there was this I grew up in a town called Montclair,
Mm.
and it has a theater called the Claridge. Used to go there and catch a whole bunch of like the coolest indie movies out. But one that I always come back to was when the Tribe Called Quest documentary came out. The one that the one that my I don't like Michael Rappaport, but he made the movie. This is
Yeah,
before I kind of this is before I knew everything about him, but like I love Tribe. So like me and it's like me and my homie Spencer, shout out to Spence. We went to go see the Tribe documentary, and then we just like walked home and just like talked about it. And like just like having just like having that experience. Like I wouldn't have had that experience if I didn't live in an area like that, or like live near New York. So like
yeah,
that like
absolutely.
that just really, yeah, it like just moments like that were really special to me, and like are still special to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I grew up in the DVD, but even before that, the VHS era. And I
Yeah, I
do
caught the tail end
remember
of that.
like when kids came out, having like one friend had the VHS tape of Kids, and it got passed around. Same with like Gummo.
We did the same shit with the DVDs. Yeah, now the Harmony Korine, Larry Clark, all their movies, and
Yeah, yeah.
like
Just like
yeah,
it was good. It was good. I'm it's it's cool that like you can go on like Amazon Prime and see a lot of indie movies.
mm-hmm,
Um like even more than Netflix. Um
definitely.
but nothing can really, you know, equal that sort of, that physical exchange, that going to the theater, that like,
Yeah.
giving your friend a tape or a DVD, like, oh, watch this.
Yeah, that shit really means everything to me. I pass Criterion Collection DVDs between friends these days, and it's just like it just feels good, like outside of the fact that just like owning the physical means that like they can't just like take it away from you when they want to. But
Right.
like I like you said, I love the physical act of like peep this, check this CD, check this DVD, check this whatever, like I just yeah, like that's something that I hope it hasn't gone away, but it's like it's kind of like I feel like it's kind of coming back in a very small way right now,
Yeah, but people
especially when
are
it comes to music.
collecting.
Yeah, like I'm a collector. I'm a creature of habit that way. So yeah.
Also, I think people are realizing, like you said, we're leasing when we, pay these apps that are little money a month, that we're leasing these titles. If the app goes down, or something gets censored crazy, or just they cease to exist, and where are all our beloved movies? So I think a lot of times there are certain things you want to have, just in case you get trapped on that island with electricity, that you can watch that one movie over and over again.
Yeah, nah, that's too real. Like, and yeah, like you said it, like we're leasing these things, like like it's like whether it's music or movies, like 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 you don't own that album you're listening to on Spotify, like like
At
you're
all.
like like you're paying Spotify to access the album that. I mean, they don't own the album, obviously, but like like they're the middleman,
It's the
and
database. Yeah.
yeah, it's a database, and just
Yeah.
like I like we like it got to a point where it's unavoidable at this it's very much unavoidable, but like I try to like if I like stuff enough, I try to buy physicals, or if I can't buy a physical, I buy a digital, like if I
Yeah,
really
sure.
like something, like that's kind of what it means to me now. It's just like it goes beyond just like oh, I like this thing. It's like if I buy your shit, like I really like your shit. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, which is
it
wild.
feels more special,
Yeah.
than it did before. It wasn't like, oh, like let me go buy 7 CDs. Like it's just like, okay, like
Right.
I'm gonna grab these two because they really mean a lot to me. Like it really shows you what sticks, and I appreciate it for that, because like the perspective is always tight.
Of course. Yeah. Well, a
Yeah.
long way from the Columbia House, 100 CDs for $1, and the
Yeah.
Napster era, where we're like, this is free.
Yeah,
So
right. You're fucking downloading like 300 gigs of music over the course of a week, and you just walk in. Yeah, just like,
just let it go,
yeah,
just let it be. Yeah.
right. Seeing people, I remember seeing people in high school. They would like walk around with like hard drives and be like, "Yeah, I got like 250 gigs of music on here." It's just like, like I like like I got introduced to so many artists that way, like not even just new people. Like I remember I downloaded Prince's entire discography just because I could, like it was
Right.
like at that point where you would just like download you would like find all these classics and just like get them just because like, oh, like I got all this space, might as well,
Yeah.
like Pirate Bay and Napster and Kazaa and all those things just really, and LimeWire, who could forget LimeWire, like held everybody down, and Dat
Yeah.
Piff, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but for you, like I mean, I'm sure music has been a huge part of your life for a very long time, but like like when did music first come into your life? And like when did you kind of start to recognize it as something more than just pretty sounds? You know?
Um, I can remember, sounds nuts, but I mean, my partner actually told me that I still do this sometimes. And my mom told me I used to do it. Like when I was like 5 or 6, I would start like waking up out of my sleep when it was like a song that really resonated with me. Like one time when I was 5, a Stevie Wonder song. I forget which one, but it might have been Knocks Me Off My Feet. It's one of those, really incredible ones, which is most of them. But,
Yeah.
I would kind of rustle out of my sleep because it was just like so moving to me. Would cry over music as a child. Just, it's so beautiful. And it's very, very like
Mhm.
silly, but yeah, I can't remember a time when music wasn't a huge part of my life. Growing up, like my mom, of course, with films, same with music, listened to a lot of Motown, a lot of soul, funk, R&B. And then it was the 80s. So, pop music was, you know, pop music was in its bag in the 80s. And we listened
Uh-huh.
to a lot of that. And so, and then I went to private school as a young kid. So I was always in a band or in orchestra or in a choir or something. So music has never not been a part of my life. I started making it when I was like 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And like, like when did you first think that like when did you first know that music was going to become more than just a hobby for you? Because like I feel like it starts out as I mean of course it starts out as a hobby for everybody who does it, or not
Sure.
everybody but like most people, but like when did you first realize like, oh, like now, like I'm gonna do this, like not just for fun, like.
Yeah. College. I talk about it a lot in my book, but like
Mhm.
I was doing I was a chemistry major, and I used to
Right.
actually go and make music to relax. Um, and I made so much music that we were like, let's maybe put this on a CD and see if people might buy it. Because
Right.
I'd done a couple ciphers. People tend to like my raps, so it was kind of like, well, let's see if people pay $5 for 8 songs. And
Right.
they did. And this was my like right before my senior year in college. And so I was like 19, 18, no, around 20, 21. That was when I was like, soon as somebody buys, soon as somebody buys your music from you, now you're in the music business.
Right, basically. How
Yeah.
many, this is such an arbitrary question, but I'm so curious. You remember how many copies of your CD you pressed at that
50. And
time?
and
50.
my goal was to sell 50 in a week. And I was like, if I sell 50 in a week, I am the best rapper that has ever lived. And I did. Like that last one, I remember I had sold 49 and I was just like, no, I'm gonna get this last one off and get this goal. And it was
Yeah.
like a homie of mine who we did like chemistry study groups with. And she was like, oh, you make music? Like, I'd buy one. I was like, I'm gonna come meet you right now. So I was like, I went to her, delivered it to her dorm, and was like, thank you. And it was dope. And that was like when I realized, like, I didn't think like, oh, this is gonna be my profession or my career. But it
Right.
was something where I was like, damn, like I just sold my music. That's nuts. I'm gonna keep making music and see what happens.
Right. Like that, like that's like the basis form of validation,
Mm-hmm.
and like, and of course you were studying chemistry in school. Like what was it about, like why chemistry, like why was that the path you had initially chosen? Because I don't think I know too much about that. with
I
you?
love science, just as a whole, but in high school, I went to Whitney Young, which was like a really competitive high school in Chicago. And I took biology my freshman year and I really didn't like it, but I knew I liked science. And it was my biology teacher was pretty intuitive. She was just basically like, you have a good like mindset. I see the way you learn, but I see you're not really putting your all into biology. You might want to try chemistry. And she just pretty much referred me to taking chemistry the next semester, and I fell in love with it. And it just became, it's just fascinating to me. And it really is, it's the building blocks of matter. It's like what everything is made of. So with chemistry, you're just breaking down everything in our world down to a chemical formula
Yep.
or their chemical and physical properties. And I really like knowing what is, sort of the nuts and bolts of something. So for me, doing chemistry is like really equivalent to like cooking or making a wrap
Yeah.
or anything that really you take something and something small or tiny and make it into something completely different, or you build on top of something to make something better. That's always been just like kind of like the base fascination for me.
Right. That's fire. Yeah, because like so many people don't realize that like baking, especially baking, is
It's literally
chemistry.
chemistry.
Like,
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
it is.
it's
It
just
is.
like just like how applicable that like it's not like how like when you like graduate high school or like you make it out of college and you're like a couple of years out and it's like, oh, I never used trigonometry.
Right.
Like
Right.
it's not like trigonometry or calculus. Like like chemistry is like, it's like you said, it's like it's like the chemical makeup of everything around you, and it's like how stuff gets made. And that's like, like I'm no expert, but it's always infinitely fascinating to me. Like I watch shit like there are times where I'll just like watch a couple hours of like how it's made, just to like
Yeah.
see how food or like erasers or like whatever the fuck gets made. Like
Yeah.
that shit is really fucking cool to me.
Yeah.
Just on like a base, like how did this come together? But like it's even deeper for you, just considering that you're like a full-blown chemist for real. Like, like
Yeah. I
that's
got Walter White on my,
hey, wow, that's a nice tattoo too.
thank you. You know,
Yeah, nah. That's hard. I love I've been meaning to rewatch Breaking Bad because it's been a long time.
I can,
It's
I only watch The Wire. This is terrible. They might take a little piece of my black card away, but I only watch The Wire in its entirety so I could debate which is better, Breaking Bad or The Wire, because Breaking Bad was my shit. And I watched, I had seen the first season of The Wire and the last season of The Wire, and I always thought it was dope, but I never watched it in its entirety. But I would always see these debates on Twitter, like, what's the best show, Breaking Bad or The Wire? And I'm like, I want to argue. So last year I watched it. Wire's great. The Wire is great. But yeah, Breaking Bad is, the chemistry is correct. The only thing that's different, that's not correct with the chemistry in Breaking Bad is if you had pure meth, it wouldn't be blue. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah, I always wondered why the meth was blue.
Yeah,
That's fun, but it's just
it's
like,
fun. Yeah. But
yeah,
everything
just
else,
like
all that other chemistry that they do in that show is absolutely like, it's correct. They had like real chemists on set making sure that like, the things that they said and the things that they did were accurate. And that's just something
that's
that my little nerd ass was like, oh, this is the greatest show ever made.
that's gas. One of my favorite scenes in the whole show is when Walt first when he first embraces the Heisenberg identity and he shows up to Tuco's crib in the middle of the city and he throws the chemical at the ground and it
Yeah.
explodes the apartment. Like that,
Yeah.
like I forget what that element is called, but just like seeing that, I was just like, whoa, like just like the
Yeah.
it was great, like just like a really nice mix of just like action adrenaline thriller shit with just like, oh, like that's what would happen if you threw like it's not potassium, but like it's like, oh, like you threw
No.
potassium at the ground. Like I
Yeah.
know potassium's like very volatile and if
It
you
is.
put it in water it'll explode, but
It
like
is. It is.
yeah, but like I can't remember what the specific thing it was, but it was like it looked like mica or
It was
something.
really, I forgot what it is too, but it was just a tiny bit. And that is true. Like science can be quite dangerous. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like with baking, you get something wrong, it'll just taste shitty. But in a situation like that, you know, you throw something on the floor that don't need to be on the floor. Now the floor is gone, you know, now we've exploded
Right.
something. So, and I saw that happen in college. We had all the acids, all the big boy acids, like sulfuric acid, and we had hydrochloric acid, and it was like a spigot with like a little drip under this hood
Mm.
to protect everyone. And one day, one of the students didn't turn the drip off all the way. So hydrochloric acid was dripping overnight and ate the floor. Ate the floor.
Shit.
It was like, yo, this is nuts. I love chemicals.
Yo, fucking that reminds me of another scene in this I'm in the second episode after they kill Crazy 8 and the other guy, and Jesse's trying to dissolve their bodies in the
Yeah.
tub, and he messes up the different acids. I think he uses sulfuric acid instead of hydrochloric acid, and it dissolves the tub, and just like their guts
Yeah.
just fall. That shit was so crazy.
Yeah.
He was like, you needed to put it in the tub, Jesse. Like, yeah, all that shit.
Yeah.
So oh shit, I forgot to ask. Another question I usually ask everybody is like, like as you're growing up and kind of experiencing film and music in this particular way, especially considering how close you were to both, like was there ever a point where you consciously linked the two together in your brain, like as just kind of like seeing that how they complement each other? Like, did that ever happen
I
for
mean,
you?
soundtracks. A Prince Purple Rain would probably
Yeah.
be the first time where, and that's a really huge example, right? But you know, I was
Right.
a kid when this came out, and it really stopped the world. And you know, Prince had already had a bunch of hits, but the fact that he was, you know, writing, directing, starring in this movie, and
Yeah.
it has all his music, and and then also me living in Minneapolis, putting those pieces together too, and even being able to play
Yeah.
at First Avenue, things like that, is just like, that was like one of the first time where you could see like how big an artist could be with like some multimedia shit, but also like doing the soundtrack to your own movie is
That
that's
shit is
great.
so hard. Like,
Yeah, it's like,
what do
what?
you mean? Like that's like,
I'm gonna do the music too, and I'm gonna act in it. Like, what?
yeah, no, that's like when you ever see Antoine Fisher, the
Yeah.
Denzel movie?
Mhm.
You know Antoine Fisher actually, like the real Antoine Fisher wrote the screenplay for that movie.
Yes. Yes.
Like, which
Like,
is
I'm gonna write
always
my own shit.
that's hilarious to me. Like, I love that. I can't think of any other, like, I know there are other people who've like scored their own movies, but like I can't remember, I can't remember who else. But like Prince is, he was Prince, and like especially considering that you were living in Minneapolis. When did you first move from Minneapolis to Chicago, or to Minneapolis from Chicago? There we go.
2017 is when I
Okay.
kind of started putting roots down and decided to stay for a longer time. Basically get a apartment. It's like, I guess we're
Right.
staying. But yeah, 2017.
Got you. Um, Now, sorry to run back again, but like I was
No, it's all
looking through,
good.
I was looking through your Discog, and I don't, I mean, we were just talking about you selling your first album. Was the first album you sold Biochemistry in 2002? Was that the one you
No,
were
it
selling or
was
not? Okay.
no, it was called Whippersnapper.
That's even better.
Yeah, it was my first project was um 8 tracks. Yeah, it's called Whippersnapper.
That's
My
crazy.
little baby, I had like my little baby footprints on it, just like, yeah, look, it's my first album type shit. So yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
So like, like you make it to the point where you start making Biochemistry, which I think is around like the early 2000s. I think it came out in 2002, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So like talk to me about Biochemistry and like putting that together, and like what it was like, kind of. I don't want to call it like your first big album, but like it seems like it's a pretty important step in your journey. So like what was it like making that record and kind of really stepping into yourself as like it's just like I'm a rapper, like even more than
Yeah,
before.
it was a big deal because we did 8 tracks on Whippersnapper. We sold those 50.
Yeah.
So we just kept making music. And my homie Manny, who did the first album, who basically recorded me, we would just get together. It's like I didn't love all his beats yet. but I loved his engineering and I loved his ear. And I also loved the way he arranged things. So I would come and just choose samples. So, putting together those samples, writing the songs, like putting it together, that was a big deal. That was a big deal for me. It took, kind of like another few months, but then it kind of was serendipitous because my homie Manny, his parents liked what he was doing with me so much, they gave him money to press it up. So we were able to press up that first biochemistry with like shrink wrapping and barcoding. So I just look like hella official. So coming back to Chicago with a shrink wrapped and barcoded album that I could sell in stores, and coming back to the Chicago scene with that was a big deal. Like people were like, who is this bitch and why is she so official? But it was very important. It was a very important piece of music for me, and it kind of jump started all the press and the bigger looks, as far as bigger in my world,
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and there there have been a lot of those and like tons of ups and downs with all of that. And just like, before we get to that, like one of the things I've always just loved about your music is just like you cover so much ground, because like so many people know you as a rapper, and like you are that, but like you've made punk before, you've done like you've worked with so many different groups and under so many different names and so many different producers, and just like like you kind of like you're kind of boundless in that way. And I've always kind of loved that adventurousness and like that I guess just like that wanderlust that kind of comes from what you do. So just because I'm curious, like, is there, I mean, like, I'm sure this kind of feels like an obvious question, but like, do you what like when you're making rap music, are you inspired by, this is such an obvious question. Are you inspired by other kinds of music when you're making specific kinds of music?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on, I'm really big into the edit these days. So I try to really figure out what points I want to make and where I want to go before I really get too far into the lyric writing. I try not to be too inspired by others when I write, but I do keep folks in mind, like the simplicity of complex ideas that Stevie Wonder does. I find that no matter what I talk about, I end up covering a bunch of ground, even if I'm talking about love or I'm talking about organizing or something like that. Like I still end up saying a couple things always, and it's usually like fuck the government or something like that. But or wink wink, I'm queer, like I definitely have a thread of saying these things all the time in my music. But yeah, I keep good writers in mind. But as far as the music, I let usually if I'm doing like the rap stuff, just raps and beats, I kind of think about what haven't I talked about yet, because I've been doing this a long time. I don't always want to talk about the same thing, so that's kind of where I'm going these days. Like, what haven't I talked about, and how do we keep complex ideas simple so it's fully understandable and relatable to my audience?
Yeah, that idea that just like making the complex simple is something that I admire in a lot of my favorite rappers. Like my favorite musicians, but like rappers specifically, because rap is such a word heavy genre of music. And like I think that's one of the things that makes Bigg Perrm so special. And just like like you kind of dive into so many things on Bigg Perrm, like whether it's you just kind of lashing out at people who've hurt you, or even just talking about something as innocuous as a pitchfork score, or like like more like wink wink, I'm queer, but like not even the wink wink part at this point, like you're very much out and proud about that shit. And like I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool and interesting and notable that you put out this specific album around the same time that the book came out, because they both kind of like they're not like directly related to one another, but like they're kind of like companion. I haven't read the book yet, but like from what I've heard and what you've been saying, they almost feel like companion pieces in that way. Like one would, like they inform each other without directly being about each other. So before we dive back into the album, I want to talk about the book a bit, because like you've been through so much over the course, like especially over the course of the last like 10-15 years. Everything happened with rhyme sayers and the boycott rhyme sayers movement, and just like there's a whole bunch of other things. But like, why was now the time to put a book like Her Word Is Bond together? Like, why was now the time for you to talk about all this stuff?
This was a divine timing with the book. I had no control over when the book was coming out.
Right.
I started writing it in 2019. That's when I got the deal with Haymarket. And then in 2020, in late 2020, right around after the boycott, the person who bought me to Haymarket was embroiled in his own sort of scandal, which allowed Haymarket and myself to talk about how to continue our relationship. That person has, since his imprint on Haymarket has been dissolved. So I got absorbed by the bigger publishing house, which was amazing. But it also allowed me an opportunity to restructure my book deal with them. And also it gave me the book was done without talking about a boycott rhyme sayers movement, because it hadn't happened yet. Right. But when all that happened and we had to go back into the book itself, and I was like, I have to write about this. This book isn't over yet. So writing about my experience with that, finishing up the book, writing about my experiences with like domestic violence and all that kind of stuff, it was really intense. And I wrote a Medium article about my specific gripes with rhyme sayers, because I felt like people didn't understand why I was going so hard.
I remember that piece.
That piece was referenced in the book as well. So the timing of that, it was like, it just sucks that the dude that brought me to Haymarket had his own shit to deal with in that same realm, but it allowed me to go back into the book and really update it with what was going on. And I feel like it made it better. So because it was often delayed all through 2020 because of the pandemic, and then 2021 people were starting to like pick things up again. So finishing the book in 2021, but then it goes through so many processes. It's like a initial edit, then a final edit, then a final edit, and like reading it over and over. And finding typos, like in 100,000 words, you got to find the typos, and getting the cover. So all of these things were happening. And then we figured out, June 21st was going to be the release date. And it just so happened to be like some divine timing, because these topics aren't going away. And, the Me Too movement, as it were, in hip hop, it's a polarizing conversation. My worst, darkest joke about hip hop is a sex cult. And when you think about who we know kind of started hip hop, we give that to, and what he's been accused of doing, it's like, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? Like, you think about it, and you think about how women are treated, how queer people are treated, and how a lot of rap has grown out of it, but we still have a long way to go. So I had no control over the book's release date, but I did have control over Bigg Perrm. And I was finishing Bigg Perrm around the same time I was finishing the book. So that's kind of why, some of those songs felt complimentary, because the book was a triumph. And it also, like, Bigg Perrm, I'll always have some anger in me. I mean, I'm a Black woman in America. But I feel like Bigg
Absolutely.
Perrm doesn't sound so angry. It sounds
Oh
assured,
yeah.
and it sounds like, yeah, I'm still angry, but I'm gonna laugh about it, you know?
Yeah. I would never, like, I would never call Big Perm I would never call an album like Big Perm angry because it doesn't sound angry at all. I just mean just kind of in the sense of like you being honest with yourself and just like
Sure.
really not just not shying away from the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like that's kind of how I feel like
Yeah.
both the album and the book are complementary. Just like you, it's like it's you, it's Cristal.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's like like we talk about the cliche of like the like, oh, this is like the personal album, or like this is like the
Right.
personal, this is the tell all, this is the like it's become such a cliche at this point.
Yeah,
But
no one talks
like
bad about themselves either in these tell-alls either.
you
So
know
yeah, I'll do it. I'll talk bad about myself. Whatever. I'm in
like it,
therapy. I can handle it.
yeah, like just like being honest with yourself is something that's really difficult, and it's something that like you get the tools to do it as you get older and kind of embrace different things about your identity. Like like I've kind of like I'm more or less like embracing like a queer identity on my own. Like I'm non-binary, so like I like I'm just kind of coming into that and kind of figuring out what that means for me.
Hmm.
And just like and just like being a nominally queer person who works in rap, like who like cover it, like it's something that I've always thought about, but I think about it more now as I get older and just really kind of sit and just like, you really just think about like, damn, like we really condition ourselves to accept so much. And like everyone has their own personal thresholds when it comes
Sure.
to hate speech and slurs and all that shit. But it's just like, you think about it, whether you're queer, whether you're like femme, whether you're anybody who isn't just like a straight person, basically, you just think like, damn, like we really have like we just kind of condition ourselves to accept so much before we're just kind of like, okay, like maybe this person said one or two fucked up things, but it's okay as long as this didn't happen. Like it's always just like
Sure.
kind of setting up these like little parameters for yourselves. And like we all have our mileage varies, and everyone's tolerance, I guess, is like
Sure.
different. But it's just like you talk to people and you just kind of recognize like, oh, like am I letting too much get away from me? Like, am I am I cutting people too much slack? Like, should I
Oh
care
yeah.
about this more? It's just like,
I
like
mean,
that's
we
just
have to
kind of
make
like
our
the,
part. I don't mean to cut
yeah.
you off. Sorry.
Yeah. No. You're good. You're good.
We have to make our personal, I guess choices, with each artist, because
Yeah.
you'll be jamming to something and you'd be like, oh wait, this person is like a whole terrorist or a whole
Yeah.
abuser. And we talked about it a lot with the the boycott rhyme sayers thing. It's just about, well, how much is too much? It's like when it was specifically for the Minneapolis scene because it's so small and insular. It's like, people have
Right.
been personally affected by this stuff, and y'all just don't care. Y'all just want to be backstage, like that's all like you want a couple
Yeah.
drink tickets, you want to flick it up for the gram, but like 10 people, this person is like fuck their lives up in some way, and it's just like
Yeah.
you don't care, so it's like how do we show up for community, and how do we sacrifice certain things that it is a sacrifice that we like someone's art, but we know they're just like a horrible person. Like where do you draw the line, and I
Yeah.
think with women there's a lot of cognitive dissonance with queer people, with gay people too, because there are little things that are said and it's just like, I mean, I said the F word in my first mainstream album, my first sayers album, and something I had to unlearn being from just the battle scene.
Yeah.
Because the F
Oh,
word was
that's a
used,
whole other conversation. Sorry to
yeah,
cut you off.
and I use it, and I rhyme it with, I like put a little sprinkle on the word and I rhyme it with pageantry. And I just thought it was a funny bar. Didn't mean any homophobic anything. And of course, I'm bisexual, so the idea that I'm being homophobic on my own album is insane to me. But
Right.
realizing that, like, I said that I mean, I said that this was what 15 years ago, 16 years ago at this point. But someone
Mm-hmm.
talked about it on Twitter the other day, and I just ignored it because I was like, I've been trying to be better on Twitter about like not always putting my opinion out there. But somebody was like, "Oh, Psalm 1's back. Psalm 1's homophobic. I ain't been with her. I ain't listened to old girl since '06, and she said this." And I was like, "Wait, you follow me? Like, you follow me? I didn't come on Twitter until 5 years after that album. You follow me. You're calling me homophobic in 2022. Like, do you really follow me, bro? Like, what is happening? But I also understand that, like, some of the things we say, we have they come back. I mean, that we're seeing it right now with Ice Spice. They pulling up all of her old tweets and they're funny, so everyone's like, she's funny. But like, that's what they do. Like, people wanna see if you got any blemishes on that PC record.
Yeah, man. And it's something, and like everyone has, like I said, everyone has like their own thresholds with that, because like I know people, like I know people who use that word and they have like a different relationship with that. It's whatever. But like, I say all that to say, like, you think about it with somebody like Tyler the Creator too, who like started out, like he started out being, like people were calling him one of, like people were like, like I was one of them, because like I was a fan, but I was kind of grappling with like, oh, like, why is he saying this stuff? But then like, of course, like he more or less, like he never made like an official statement like Frank did, but like Tyler more or less came out and kind of changed,
wink, I'm queer.
Exactly. Like kind of changed up his image, and that's like a whole other, like unpacking all of that is something that he's kind of done over the course of his last like 2-3 albums. And but like, it's always funny to me because I see like kids basically who came on around the Flower Boy era or the Igor era, or even just from Call Me When You Get Lost, and then they start hearing the Bastards and the Goblins, and they're just like, what the, and they're just like, who is this, like, and you're like, I was rapping fucking Yonkers, and I was rapping Tron Cat, and I was rapping all this other shit, like, and I love those songs, and I have this personal connection with them, but you just got to be like, damn, it's like that shit wouldn't fly now, and it's probably best that it doesn't, like. And I love the fact that artists like Tyler and pretty much everybody in OF, like, especially like Sid, because like Sid was right at the center of all of that, and she was queer from the jump.
Ain't no, I'm not putting on a dress ever. Don't ever ask.
Exactly. Like she was gay from the jump. She never hid that shit. So like, like of course she kind of had to stand in front and be the person to be like, oh well, they're not actually, like it was, like her doing that is probably, I imagine that probably eats her up inside on occasion. But like, like just like seeing all of them kind of grow out of that, and not, just like kind of grow out of that. And, like you had your experience and you grew and you've kind of come in. It's just like everyone's journey is different. And it's just like the shit is complicated, and we find our way through it. And identities become what they become. It's once again, no easy answers for any of that shit. But
if we grew up in hip hop, we have to unlearn stuff. That's just what it is. And I think a lot of rappers, a lot of artists evolve over time. If we're lucky, we get to do that. And we get to understand that, like, like people be like, everybody's so sensitive right now. It's like, I just think people are able to speak up more about and articulate why some shit is foul, as opposed to everyone being so sensitive. Because there's been a lot of cognitive dissonance. As a woman, I listen to some of my favorite, rappers, and I'm a bitch and a hoe and they ain't shit, you know what I mean? Like the whole time, you know what I mean? I'm just I have to separate that, So I like artists that I don't have to separate that shit with. So, and I think, and that's where hip hop is evolving.
Yeah, definitely, especially now. Like it's so crazy you mentioned the battle scene earlier, because like 3 nights ago, I don't know what inspired this, but I went back and watched Disaster and Cannabis's battle from like 10 years ago.
God.
I don't know what compelled me to do that, but I was like, I want to watch this again. And just like the both of them, like Cannabis and Dis are extremely talented, obviously,
Yeah.
but like just the things they I don't gotta say what they said, but just like,
Oh yeah.
like like Disaster was basically just baby Eminem, and that comes like we can all kind of guess what that comes with, so like just kind of
Slurs aplenty, baby.
yeah,
Shout out
man,
to
just
Diz, but yeah, he's a slur
yeah.
machine.
Hey man, it's just, but like you said, that's so ingrained in the battle scene. Like whether you're watching like Cannabis or Disaster, or like watching like Arsenal, who's from right up the street from me in Newark, like Arsenal's no angel when it comes to that shit, and Shoddy Horror and all the, like I could sit here and name names forever, because I was
Yes, of
big into
course.
battle rap at one point. And battle rap's kind of having a moment right now, which is great because battle rap's awesome. But like I just
A
it's
subscription-based model for battle rap is, I'm glad they figured it out.
yeah, me too, because yeah, like
Unfortunately,
those
they needed Drake to do it, but
yeah.
Drake's
Yeah,
like,
man, fucking
this is amazing. Like everyone's like, I think
fucking
it is amazing. Like,
yeah, man, to see that like King of the Dot ethos really find a foothold with people in 2022 is really wild. Like I'm
yeah,
like kind of happy that they figured that out, because like there's like battle rap is one of my favorite rap inside jokes is that like battle rappers can't make, like like battle rappers will kill it in a cipher, but they can't make an album to save their life. And for the most part, like out like the only battle rapper I can think of who like actually made a good project, maybe No Can Do. Like that
okay,
might be it. Like
okay.
maybe I could be wrong. I don't.
Mike Eagle comes from the battle
Oh,
scene, so like
oh,
he
of course
counts,
he
but
does.
he's, there are battle, but coming from the battle scene is different from being like, you know, this battle rap champion, and that's where you kind of
Right.
got all your stripes. And I think, we can have the Eminem conversation. We don't have to, but Eminem is probably the most, I feel like, one of the more recognizable battle rappers who was like doing it at a
Hmm.
super high level, who made good albums. He only had a few. The Eminem Show is the one
Yep.
Eminem album that I was like, this is incredible. But
Yeah. That was
everything
my
else,
first Eminem album. Very, very special to me. Sorry.
yeah. Yeah. In my book, there's like a whole half a chapter about Eminem, because we didn't know he was white at first. So we were just like, what the hell? So that is true. Like, that is true. By and large, a lot of great battle rappers haven't been able to make that album that really like feels complete.
Yeah.
Because there's
And
something, you make songs. I'm sorry, like, because now the rapper in
no,
me
no,
has
no.
just gotten like dinged. But it's because it's like, do you want to make a dope song, or do you want to be the best rapper on the song? It's like
Right.
the Slaughterhouse effect, It's like four grown
Hmm.
ass niggas trying to out rap each other. It's like, where's the cohesion? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to sit and take punchlines for like an hour, you know what I'm saying? Like a
Hmm.
well-placed punchline, it can make a song better. But like,
Right.
you fucking put 100 punchlines in a song and like screaming at me, it just doesn't feel cohesive to me. But I
Right.
love bars. If you're just barring out, and it has this, there are a lot of artists that just bar you down, but they do it in an elegant way. So yeah.
Right. Which is crazy because like you think about a group like Slaughterhouse, who like there was never a time when I was like the biggest Slaughterhouse fan. But like you
Right.
look at that, and then you look at somebody like Babytron out of Detroit, who I love. I love,
Yeah,
love,
baby
love
Tron's
Babytron.
good.
Like hearing like I listen to Megatron, and that's nothing but bars. Like it's bars for an hour, but like he just it's like he manages to make it so much fun because like just like the way he does shit with like energy, the producer, and just like the samples he finds, and like the way he does it is just like so much fun. And like it's not just like it's not like that Slaughterhouse effect. And like it's just cool. Like it's just weird to consider that like I would scoff at somebody like a Joel Ortiz in
Mm.
2022, but love
Who's
somebody like
still rapping at a high level, if that's what you want to
right.
hear.
but like I find myself wanting more stuff like Babytron and Shitty Boys, and that Silk Money album that just came out yesterday is fucking incredible.
Oh,
Like
I gotta link up with that. I'm still on that drum, but yeah.
the drama album is great too.
Yeah.
It was so nice to hear him like rap a little bit again in the middle. Like that was really tight. But like he just kind of, yeah, not to take too much time, but like I've been a Drum fan since Cha Cha, and
Of
like
course.
just like seeing him kind of grow, like Shelly FKA Drum, like hearing him hearing him kind of become so comfortable with himself and just like really embrace doing just like full blown R&B and
Yeah, real
soul
artist
and
shit.
funk,
Real
like
artist shit.
it was just cool to see, like I'm happy because I interviewed him when Shelly FKA Drum came out, and he was very much like he felt boxed in by the broccoli and the cha-cha shit, and he's
Of
like, I
course.
want to do more, so it was
Mm-hmm.
good to see him do that on his terms.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can get bound by a hit if you're not careful,
Mm-hmm. He almost got bound by two, so
It's true.
yeah.
It's true.
Man, this has been so great. Like I feel like I could talk to you for like another 3 hours, honestly. But my very last question for you, someone, Crystal, if your
No,
life was a
it's Crystal.
movie.
It's Crystal. Just so you
Crystal,
know.
my
But
fault. I'm
but it's
sorry.
no, it's okay because like we're on the internet and people read names and they don't know. So like yeah, it's just Crystal. My mom was being hella fancy. It's no hard feelings.
Got it. Yeah.
Because you
See,
said
I'm
earlier, you said, "Oh, I'm CineMasai," and I was like, "That's how you say it."
okay. Still, but like because I already said your name, and like I have a thing with names where like I know faces and I remember conversations, but like there are some times where I don't remember names, and like
Yeah,
either or it'll be like I remember the name but I don't remember how to pronounce it, so I get like self-conscious and don't say it. I'm just like, hey you, or like, hey what's up, like I don't
yeah,
say
exactly. Yeah,
names, and I feel terrible about this. Like when I first said Cristal, I was like in my head, I'm like, is this right? She didn't say anything. I hope this is right. Like,
no, I wasn't gonna cut you off because you were in like saying something really good. But also, people call me Cristal on some super shit. You know what I mean? Like from Boondocks to the fact that
right.
Cristal is a rapper's champagne or was
Mm-hmm.
back in the day. So people who even know it's pronounced Crystal will still call me Cristal. It's fine
Right. Okay. Just making sure.
yeah, it's all good. No, but it's up to me to correct you, but it's no biggie because we are internet. We know each other from the internet, and you can't always
Facts.
get the proper pronunciation from that. So,
Right.
but
Yeah.
what was your question?
No, it was also on me for not asking because I should have just asked. But my question, someone, Crystal, if your life was a movie, what would it be about?
If my life was a movie, it would be about me being like almost famous. I think it would just be so fucking humorous and like some areas of the world, like no one gives a fuck who I am. But then in other areas, somebody might be like, yo, your music really got me through. You know what I mean? Like they really
Yeah.
like revere me. So, and it's just the mind fuck of that. Like one of the more powerful things that ever happened to me in my career was I got on the front page of the Chicago Sun-Times, huge article, but I was riding the bus when it came out. So it was
Man.
just like, is this what fame is? Like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I think we a lot of times equated fame with fortune and
Yep.
thinking that your come up or your blow up, I come from the era like you could be rapping on the corner and if you're good, someone will come and change your life because you're just so good at rapping, you know what I mean? And
Right. Right.
I
Right.
think a lot of rappers from my era got sucked up into that and they've become bitter. And I was bitter for a long time, but I'm not anymore. And I'm unlearning some bitter things. You don't just
Right.
become unbitter, but like I've unlearned quite a bit and learned to embrace music as something that has been happening for me forever and just keeping it silly. So yeah, my movie would be like on some Almost Famous shit, but with a little like Boondocks humor thrown in. Really self-deprecating shit, but I come out on top in the end.
That's fire. Yeah. As long as it's not season 4 Boondocks, I'm cool.
Nah, season it'd probably be like season 2. What's the season of Thugnificent? The when they first
That's season 2. Yeah.
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 Season
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
would be it.
That's
And Cristal,
hilarious.
like with the Cristal, the prostitute, that it's like so many sound bites on that one
Right.
for me, you know.
Yeah, man. The Boondocks is that's a whole other episode. I could go for a whole 2 hours about my relationship with the Boondocks. And
Yeah.
like, like I feel you on the whole like fame versus fortune thing to an extent, because like, like I've been doing this for about a decade, and it's good, like it feels good to be able to like, I mean, like, first and foremost, like I've been listening to you for a while, so like just even getting to talk to you on like my platform is really nuts to me. And like I like when I wrote my Kanye review last year when Donda came out,
Mhm.
I did Chicago radio, because they asked me to come on and talk about it with one of the pastors who, I
Okay.
forget his name, I can't remember, but either way, like, like I was like, at that point I was also like moving money around and trying to figure out whether I'd be able to pay off my phone bill,
Yeah.
like, and that was just
Yeah.
last year.
Sustain. Yeah.
So like,
Sustain your
like it's
shit.
right, it's just
Yeah.
like that, it's really just like that, like that almost famous shit is like, really, that shit is real, like it's like fame does not equal fortune, fortune does not equal fame. And like, and like having a respectable amount of both is a hard balance to maintain. And it's been really great to see you kind of really have a moment over the course of this last year and come into something so beautiful. And I just like, thank you for even wanting to come on. Like, I really don't take it for granted that like anybody would want to come on here, because I'm just like, it's literally just me. Like, there's no machine behind this, really. So just like,
Yeah.
it means
No,
a
it
lot. So thank you.
means a lot to be asked. Like I'm a fan of your work, and I really appreciate you sliding me in Pitchfork. And I wanna
Nah,
clarify
man.
something. Pitchfork Score is a song about, it's the score about the idea of pitchfork. Because a lot of
Yeah.
people are like, not a lot of people. One person was like, you didn't get reviewed in Pitchfork, you just got in Pitchfork. And I was like, it's about Pitchfork. It's not about a
Yeah.
pitchfork score. It's a score about Pitchfork. So
Right.
clarified that. I'm actually scared to be reviewed in Pitchfork. Um, my homie Rich Jones said I'm a Chicago 10 and a
Shout out
Pitchfork
to Rich
6.
Jones.
Shout out to Rich Jones. I love that. But
Yeah, man.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the support like over the years, because I know I'm an artist that has changed quite a bit uh throughout the course of my career, and my musical choices have varied. So it's nice to be able to like have fans that have been listening for a long time. So, and I appreciate you, and I knew we were gonna have a good ass conversation because I fuck with your written word. So
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm just happy to be in a position where I can put people on in my own way and do it through Pitchfork, because like that was kind of something that was like a goal of mine when I first got there, was like, I want to put on for like the dope shit no matter where it comes from, like it's just like, like being able to write about you one day and then write about like Golden Boy Count about a Florida the next is like, I live
yeah,
for that shit. So like the fact that like they let me, like I kind of have a is I just appreciate being able to put on for people in that way. So just, and
yeah.
like, your music is dope without me having to tell you it's dope, but I'm happy to do that, like.
No, no, it was very much appreciated. And I like I said, like I don't we don't as artists need the validation of certain things, but it is
Right.
nice to be recognized. So for
Yeah,
sure, appreciate the love on Crystal Jr. That was definitely, we got shadow banned, so I feel very accomplished. We don't know whether it was the fake firearm or it was me rapping between a woman's legs. Who knows? We'll never know.
Right. Either way, we got you. I got you. Like.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the Black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.